Today I'm going to be doing like a storytime video, which I haven't done for a while, but I'm going to be doing one of those today. And I'm going to be telling the story of my first ever like crush on a girl, my first ever oneitis. So I've done already my the first time I ever got rejected, but I didn't really, like that girl. Like I didn't know her for that long. But this was like the first ever girl who over like quite a long period of time I actually was interested in. And I mean, spoiler, I don't get with her, nothing happened, so it's another rejection. But I'm going to be telling that story. This isn't my main oneitis. I mean, I already made that, was a long time ago I made that video. I made a video about like my main oneitis, like my real oneitis, the biggest crush I ever had on a girl, and that was a pretty brutal situation. I'm going to be telling the story of my first ever oneitis today. So this was back in the 6th grade or the 4th grade. I don't know. I know it's like either one above or below. Doesn't really matter. But anyway, I was about that age, right? I was around like 5th grade, and there was this new girl at our school. Now this was like back in like elementary school, so whenever there was whenever there was a new kid, like it was kind of a big deal. Like people actually got excited about it and stuff. And like every day, what we'd have to do is we had this like courtyard outside of our school. We'd all have to line up at, and they'd ring the bell and the shit, so you'd go to class. But every day when there was a new kid, which happened like a few times a year maybe, like you'd hear people in the line being like, oh hey, there's a new kid, whatever. So there was this new girl who joined our school, right? I thought she was quite good looking. I don't know, like I do have a type. I do have a type. I'm not like picky. Like obviously I've never rejected a girl. I'm a kissless, hugless virgin, of course, and I've never rejected a girl in my life. So people, sometimes you hear people be like, oh, you need to be less picky, you need to give everyone a chance. It's like, that's what other people need to be doing, it's not what I need to be doing. I'm already, I haven't really no standards at all, but I do. But regardless of that, like I still do have a type, and she was my type. She was she was quite good looking. I guess, like, to be honest, I'd say she was more like a Becky, to be honest. But like I say, I have my type, and it's not exactly like Stacey's or anything. I don't know. Maybe like subconsciously, I'm just like aware that I have no chance with them, so I just default to someone who's maybe around my looks match. Except obviously with like hypergamy and stuff, your looks match doesn't mean anything anymore. So but I guess she's probably like a 6 out of 10. I guess, I don't know. She had her like hair done up in a bun, which I found quite attractive. I don't know why. I don't even know why I'm saying that, to be honest. But yeah, anyway, I didn't speak to her for a long time, but one day we got sat next to each other in class, and this was an English class, so it would be like reading and writing and stuff. And what we'd always do back in elementary school, whenever we had, and we did this in like high school as well, but we had like 5 or 10 minutes of silent reading before the lesson. So you just read a book basically. And I got sat next to her in this class, and I was reading the book, and the book I always read was Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I don't know why, but I really liked them. I had the whole like collection, all of them. I still like get them to this day, to be honest. Well, maybe not the last couple, but yeah, like I'm a big Diary of a Wimpy Kid fan, you could say, I guess. And I was always reading these books in class, right? And on this first day we were sat next to each other, she was reading a book I didn't recognise, but I thought, I'm going to try and try and talk to her, because like, to say I was blue-pilled wouldn't even be true, because I wasn't even blue-pilled. Like, I didn't even know anything, I didn't even know I liked her, probably because I was so young, and I was so like naive about how that stuff worked. Just like, I was just acting purely on instinct, like an animal, pretty much, which is probably what Chad does, like, because that's how everyone starts out. That's how everyone stays, unless you get black-pilled and you kind of realize the truth of how it works. Then you're just like so hyper aware of how everything like works in social interactions and stuff, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. But I had no idea. I was like, I don't know how old I was. However old you are in like the 5th grade, I was really young, and I just like started talking to her, and I tried talking to her about the book she was reading. And I didn't recognize what book it was, so I asked her what it was, and it was it was the Diary of Anne Frank, right? Now I had no idea. I didn't know who Anne Frank was, so I said, "Oh, you're reading a diary, or I'm a bit of a fan. I've got a Diary of a Wimpy Kid. That's kind of the same thing." And she kept talking about how like Anne Frank was like her hero and stuff, and how brave she was. And I was like, well, Greg Heffley, he's kind of my hero as well. But it was going alright. Like, the thing is, like, I distinctly remember as well, all these years later, like, she was like sitting facing forwards, and I was like slanted towards her, which is always a surefire sign that the person is not interested. And that's how I'm used to talking to people as well. Like, I'd always remember whenever I had like a birthday party or something, or like some like person got in the car, like my friends would get in my mum's car and she'd like drive us somewhere. I'd always have to sit in the front seat, and I'd have to like lean around to talk to them, and they just wouldn't care. And that's just another example, like sitting slanted towards someone, like they don't care at all. Like if you have a friend and you talk, or whatever kind of thing. If you're talking to a girl, I mean, maybe there are some people listening to this who are talking to girls, and it's like, if you stop talking to them, how will they keep talking to you? Think about that. And it's like, they probably won't, because really the amount of effort it takes to shut down a relationship like that from their perspective is more than what it takes to just tolerate your behavior, right? If you're like a normie and you're talking to a girl and she's not interested, she could just shut it down straight away and ignore you, but the amount of energy that takes on her part is more than to just have some like, I mean, especially if it's not online, if you're sitting next to someone in class, like you can't really stop that without making a scene, but she's definitely not going to pursue you, like this girl never talked to me unless I talked to her. It's not like we never talked outside of school or anything like that, and that's just the way it goes with failed normies. But yeah, anyway, I liked this girl, and I really had no idea what I was doing, like I said. But I had a friend. Well, I say a friend, but the thing is, everyone in our class was friends with this kid, right? He was like a Chad, and obviously he's friends with everyone. Like everyone likes this guy. So like I'm hesitant to say he was like my friend, but I was like friendly enough with him, I guess. And so I went to him and I asked him for advice, and I was like, hey, I like this girl, what can I do? And he had a girlfriend, and he was like, I don't remember exactly what he said, but I think he just said stuff like, you got to be nice, you got to be funny, like the most like proto blue pill shit you could ever imagine, and I tried doing that and stuff, and it just obviously went nowhere. And this was like the second to last year of elementary school. So we had the rest of that year and then the rest of next year, and this whole time I was trying to court her, and it never went anywhere. Like imagine for over a year trying to do this. It's like, that's how it went in school. You didn't have like Tinder or whatever shit back when you were a kid, or back in the day. There wasn't around. It's like you had to make do with what you had. So that's why I think, like, I mean, I certainly don't have like oneitis anymore. I don't think anyone who's like an adult really does, because it's like there's no, when you're in school, you're in like a contained environment. You can't get away from them, and they can't get away from you. So if there's a girl you like, even if she's not interested, you have to kind of play this game of like tolerating each other. Like she has to tolerate you, and you have to like not, there's no one else basically. So you have to act carefully, but you get a oneitis because it's like you don't see any other girls. But now with the internet, it's like you see more, what do they say? You can see more naked girls in like a single night than most people would have seen in their entire lives like 100 years ago. And it's like, that's how it works now, Yeah, at the end of elementary school, like I said, we were together for this, well, not together, but I was in this school for like a year and a half more maybe when she was there. And at the end of the final year, before we went to high school or whatever, we had this like party thrown, like, I don't know, not by the school, but like maybe like the parent teacher like association or whatever. Like some parents got together to throw like a leaving party, I guess, for the kids or whatever. And it was at this like river, like this river place. I've been there a few times with the scouts actually, when I was in the scouts, or the like the cubs, that's what they call it as well, which is like below scouts, because they taught us like how to go kayaking there and stuff. And there's, it's just a little river, right? And they got us to do kayaking for the party, which was a bit of a weird activity. I don't know why they decided to do that, but there was this like playground. I remember this so distinctly as well. This is such a brutal like event. How could I forget? But there was this like playground, like, so there was like a grassy like bank by the river, right? And there were like a bunch of benches and stuff for people to eat or whatever, and like buildings. And they have like it's like a PGO type place. They have like climbing stuff, like what's that stuff? Like where you rappel down the side of a wall and stuff, all kinds of like activities, and like basically just like the scouts kind of thing, or school trip activities. And they had like a playground there, and I was like sitting on this like climbing frame or whatever, and I was with like a couple of like my friends or whatever, and this one kid I'd asked for advice, he was one of the kids. This Chad was sitting there, this like little baby Chad was in the playground as well with us. And this girl came up to us all, and she was speaking to Chad, and she was like, "Hey, I'm going home. My mum's, picked me up, or whatever." And Chad was like, "Oh yeah, we'll see you later." And obviously, like, we never saw her again, obviously, because like school ended. We didn't go to the same high school, so that was the end of that. But like when she was saying bye to me, she like hugged him, and then she said bye to me, and she just waved and like did that thing with her mouth, where you push your lips together so they aren't really visible. And she was just like, "Yep, bye." She just waved at me, and I was like, "Bye." And then my friend said to me when she left, he was like, this Chad guy, he was like, "You should have said, 'Where's my hug, man? You should have asked for a hug, bro. That was a good opportunity.'" And it's just like, Chad was always, in denial about the black bull. He was always completely oblivious, because in his mind, she hugged him not because of his looks or anything like that. It's just because, why wouldn't she, And that's the brutal thing. Is like, it's like everyone else in the world is blind to it except you. It's very very brutal thing. I remember another thing that happened actually. This was like a few days before the last day of school, but this was actually when we were still in school. We had like assemblies every morning, so like all the kids would have to come in the hall and sit down, and they'd do some announcements or whatever. And sometimes they'd give awards, and because it was the end of the year, they were given like loads of awards to the kids in our class, because we were like graduating, as it were, from elementary school. I mean, it's not like graduation, but you know what I mean. And she won like some award, I don't remember what for, but she won like some award, like a certificate, and you have to walk up. I'm laughing because it's so brutal. You have to like walk up in front of everyone to get it, and everyone claps for you. And I purposely had sat like next to her, and when her name got called for this award and everyone started clapping, I started clapping like extra loudly. I was like, I didn't like say anything, but I just like made a big deal about it, and like looked at her and tried to like make eye contact, hoping she'd notice. Man, it's a brutal life, It's telling these stories, it's so brutal, and it's so sad because like I didn't know like it was pointless. I thought like it might actually work. It's like a gambler who just keeps going again and again and again. It's like, maybe this time it'll work, maybe this time. And it's like, it never does. It never does. But yeah, I mean, that was the last time I saw her. I did ask that Chad friend, like a few years ago, if like he knew her or whatever, because I thought like it would just be funny. I don't know. I was just interested, not funny, but I just thought it'd be interesting. And he said he hadn't like kept in contact with her. So who knows what she's doing now? Probably getting dicked down, honestly. I mean, she's probably in university now, so I'm sure she's running through, Chad's cop carousel. But yeah, I mean, it was over before it even began, really. That reminds me of this shit I saw. I think this is a real story, but unrelated. But there was this like couple who like had agreed. They'd been like boyfriend and girlfriend since they were in like elementary school, like really young, and they'd been together ever since, like through their whole lives. And they were like, "Oh, we're gonna wait till we get married to have sex," and they were together for like God knows how long, like 15, 20 years. And then before they got married, this Becky, I saw the pictures. This Becky cheated on him with like 20 guys. It's fucking brutal, man. It's over. It's like, imagine being that fucking guy, dude. Imagine waiting 20 years for like a virgin wife, and then she cheats on you with like a bunch of dudes. I think because the thing that reminded me of that is because I think they were together since they were together right up until she went to university, and they went to like different universities, and then she cheated on him. Like, if you have a girlfriend and you go to different universities, it's over. It's completely over. Like this girl who moved in with us, in our like apartment bit, like she was talking about how she had a boyfriend and stuff when she moved in, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in a good relationship." Yeah, like that was like 2 months ago. She's probably already broken up with him. If he's lucky, she's broken up with him. If not, she's still with him, but she's cheating on him with a bunch of guys. And like obviously exceptions happen. Not every single girl who goes to college is like having sex with a bunch of guys. But realistically speaking, I would, like, being here myself at university, I would estimate like a solid 80% of them are having sex on a regular basis. And like if you look at like statistics, obviously a lot more young women and young girls are having sex than young guys. I mean, people like I see videos about this, and people are like, how can this be? People are scratching their heads, and it's like, it's obviously because of hypergamy and the fact that Chad is basically taking all the women. it always makes me laugh when like a normie describes that as well, when they describe like polygamy and how like the most like the top men are getting all the women. Because occasionally, you know, I hear like a normie on YouTube, or like some like person in my family will say something, and it's always funny when they're like, they're so close, you know, they're so close to realizing what's going on, but they just miss it, and they're like, oh well, it's obviously because these men don't want relationships, or you know, some blue pill cope like that, or they're just not, you know, they're just not being nice enough, you know, they need to self improve or some shit. That's what you always hear from like the red pill people. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it.